Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the award-winning Connecting with Kim show here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. We're so glad that you joined us today, and we also want to mention that you can catch the audio of our show on Sun Radio 96.3 FM and on your favorite streaming platform. So we're so glad you joined us today because the goal every week is to bring you information that helps you live your best life in our corner of paradise. So I want you to follow and like my Instagram, Facebook, and X account, where you can find the latest information about the show, about my guests, and of course my on-air wardrobe from the Spring Boutique located here at Swann and Henderson in Tampa, supporting the mission of the Spring of Tampa Bay, and we'll talk more about that later. So it's a very exciting day here on Connecting with Kim because we have number one, a first-timer, and we always love to have first-time people on the show. But we're also going to be covering an incredibly important topic today on Connecting with Kim. And so I won't hesitate any longer to introduce my guest. It's Judge Michael Scionti, who is the presiding judge for the Veterans Treatment Court here in Tampa for the 13th Judicial Circuit. And we're going to talk all about what that means. So welcome, Judge Scionti, to Connecting with Kim.
Well, it's a pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
So, we always start the show the same way. I always like my guests to take a few moments at the top of the show to share as much as they feel comfortable with about their life journey, because you never know when somebody watching and listening out there has shared something in common with you, and we want to make sure that they stay around and listen to the rest of the important information we're going to talk about.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, born and raised here in Hillsborough County. My family has lived here for many generations. Prior to being a judge, I served in every branch of service with our government. So whether it was the legislative branch, the executive branch, and now the judicial branch. I'm currently serving in the United States Army. I'm a colonel with the JAG Corps. I've been serving now a little over 24 years. I'm a commander of a unit that's headquartered out in Missouri. It's a legal detachment. We're affiliated with 1st Infantry Division, so we support active duty personnel. That's on the military side. But as a circuit court judge, I'm now in my 9th year presiding over problem-solving court, so I'm very honored to have the privilege of doing that. For many years, our community has been committed to problem-solving courts, and for the last 7-8 years, I've been doing just that. So thankful for the focus of our judiciary and of our criminal justice system that is focused on healing and rehabilitation. And I oversee not one Veterans Treatment Court, but multiple problem-solving courts here in Hillsborough County.
You do, and for our guests, I've had the opportunity in the last couple of months to observe and attend Veterans Treatment Court here at the George Edgecombe. Well, actually, it's well, it is in the annex, right? To the George Edgecombe Courthouse here in Tampa. And I can tell you that it's an experience that, if you can take the time out, you really should do it. I was so grateful, and then I got an opportunity to sit down with Judge Scionti in his chambers to follow up on some of the questions I had from what I observed in Veterans Treatment Court. And we're going to cover that all today, but I have to say that the focus on problem-solving courts here in the 13th Judicial Circuit has really been something unique and groundbreaking, and something that's being replicated across the United States now, because it's kind of like one size doesn't fit everybody. And the more that we can tailor and in a compassionate, and you are, I have to say, when I observed your compassion, your care, your dedication, it comes through loud and clear in everything that you do. But it's a way of helping people who unfortunately are engaged in the criminal justice system to find hope and to turn their life around. So let's launch right into what is Veteran Treatment Court.
Sure. So I'd be remiss if I didn't share with your audience the idea of a Veterans Treatment Court started by just an idea up in Buffalo. It was one judge in the county court who happened to see a trend of veterans who were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan and were struggling with various degrees of mental illness, with substance use disorders. And it's amazing how an idea can conquer mountains, because that one idea is now spread across the country. There are now over 500 veteran treatment courts throughout the country. Here in Hillsborough County, I'm very proud of the 13th Judicial Circuit. Back in 2019, our court was recognized by the United States Congress in the VTC Coordination Act of 2019, and it recognized Hillsborough County's VTC, Veterans Treatment Court, as the nation's model problem-solving court. Now, don't do it alone. It's important that to your audience, we have a wonderful community that works together, works collaboratively, from the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Chronister, who has implemented a Veterans Pod and rehabilitative services and vocational services and drug treatment services at the jail. When we learn of individuals who are incarcerated that would potentially be eligible, the State Attorney's Office and the Public Defender's Office quickly engage, determine eligibility, working closely with the VA. So it's all a community partnership. Working with the clerk's office, working with community rehabilitation services, all of us coming together, working collaboratively, not in a punitive setting, but in a healing, rehabilitative approach, because we don't incarcerate, just the opposite. We're working on getting folks out of incarceration. It's really a transformative approach that we have taken from that idea that started back in 2008. Today, it just happens, or this year, just happens to be our 10th year anniversary of our Veterans Treatment Court. I've been presiding, I've had the honor of presiding over our court for 7 years of those 10 years. Before that, a good colleague, now retired Judge Greg Holder, served as the presiding judge, and before him, Judge Richard Weiss. So I'm really proud to be a part of this program. So thankful to be leading an effort with so many of our community partners, again, the State Attorney's Office, the Public Defender's Office, as well as our Sheriff's Office and Corrections. I'd be remiss if I didn't share with you what I think is one of the most important ingredients to the success of Veterans Treatment Court, and that is our mentor corps. We have volunteers, Colonel DJ Reyes, and many others who volunteer their time, their services, their talent to help veterans who struggle. The mentors have, I think there's about over 60 mentors. They represent all branches of government. Themselves, I think about 60% of them have served in combat from Vietnam through Iraq and Afghanistan. They bring their military service and experience, both good and not so good, to help support our veterans who struggle, to be mentors for them in their time of need. And it helps the court in between court dates. They're the eyes and ears for the court. We oftentimes have veterans who have graduated from our program but want to come back and serve as mentors, and we're very fortunate to have some peer-to-peer support in that mentor corps. It's just a wonderful program that's focused on trying to help individuals who deserve it, and bringing the community together to help. That is it's just a wonderful to be a part of, and I again thank you for helping the community bring this to the community's attention.
Well, I had the pleasure of attending on a Friday, and it was your suggestion to come on a Friday because that's graduation day for some of the veterans who are progressing through the Veterans Treatment Court. And your description of the collaboration is quite visible when you attend the court, because there are representatives, people working hard in the courtroom from all those different entities that you described. And without them, and without their support, and without their involvement, it wouldn't work. And the mentors came filing in because you all had a meeting before court started, and they came filing in, and they were there. And so what I found astonishing also was when the veteran is approaching the bar, so to speak, approaching the bench, because you are going to have some kind of interaction with them. There's a whole cadre of people that are standing up there with that veteran, speaking to their particular circumstances and what's been happening with them. And so it's such see, touch, and feel that's going on in the courtroom, and it's amazing.
It really is a labor of love. I learned long ago, trying to break down those traditional barriers in the criminal justice system, building trust is so important for these veterans to understand that we really do care. And we bring a lot of love and support, perspective, and trying to convince them to be honest about the issues that they struggle with. Oftentimes some pretty traumatic experiences that they've gone through. They self-medicate. It's facilitated, mental health issues. So establishing trust is so important. I oftentimes share my own experiences. I've had multiple overseas tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. Many of them, if not all of them, know that I currently serve. It's not lost on them because I share with them that I at times struggle. I've lost soldiers in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and I share with them that, you know, being a part of this program, being there to assist other veterans who struggle, we're all in the same community. It's funny, Colonel Reyes and I did not know each other back in 2003 in Iraq. He was with 101st Airborne and I was with 3rd Infantry Division. But we were in the same TOCs, or Tactical Operations Cells. We were a part of similar operations. We just didn't know each other. And here, 20 years later, or a little less, to find ourselves still fighting the good fight for veterans who are coming back from the very same deployments that we were on and who were struggling, and to rally around both men and women in uniform and service. It's just an ongoing commitment that we as soldiers, as Marines, as sailors, as airmen, we're just committed to trying to help each other no matter where we're at, whether the battle is overseas or the battle is here in our community.
Well, we're going to be fortunate enough to have DJ Reyes on the Connecting with Kim show coming up in season 3. We just could not. I was trying to arrange it so that you and he could be in season 2, but his schedule, because he is so incredibly busy and travels a lot, it just wouldn't work out. So let's talk about what makes a veteran eligible for Veterans Treatment Court?
Sure, wonderful question. So you have to have served in the military, okay, and have to have a military service-related mental health condition or substance use disorder. Now, the law doesn't allow or doesn't call for there to be some causal connection between the crime that you're charged with and the mental health issue or substance use disorder. But the law does set out a criteria. There are a list of offenses, mostly aggravated batteries and violent felony offenses that you would not be eligible for. But whether you commit a misdemeanor or a felony, you are potentially eligible. In 2021, the state law changed. The courts used to make the determination as to one's eligibility, and it was a two-pronged approach. First, whether or not someone was eligible, and then 2, even if they were eligible, they didn't automatically come into the program. They had to be admitted. So in that two-pronged approach was still adopted by the legislature, but they changed from the courts making that determination to the state attorney's office. So now the decision as to who is eligible and who is admitted into the program rests with the state attorney's office, and that's through all 20 judicial circuits. That very same law in 2021 mandated that every judicial circuit must have a Veterans Treatment Court. Before that, it was optional. Now it's mandatory. That same law also allowed for veterans who have been discharged dishonorably or under other conditions other than honorable were allowed. So now, regardless of the characterization of your service, honorable discharge, dishonorable discharge, or what we call an OTH, other than honorable, you are permitted to come into our program.
Okay.
So that's great, because some individuals get removed from military service because of their drug addiction, never ever having the opportunity to address the root cause of it. We deal with individuals who struggle with MST or military sexual trauma, oftentimes goes unreported.
Right.
It manifests itself into disrespectful behavior. They get discharged from the military, and yet, once again, never receiving the treatment for the issues that they struggle with.
So once the state attorney's office determines that the veteran is eligible for Veterans Treatment Court, what's the next thing that happens?
They're docketed on my docket, placed on the docket, and we will formally bring them into the program. Of course, they'll be assigned, they are already assigned an attorney. Oftentimes it's the Public Defender's Office, and Ms. Holt, Julianne Holt. She's got a wonderful team of attorneys that are exclusively assigned to Veterans Treatment Court, just like Ms. Susie Lopez. She has a team of attorneys that are assigned to that division. So we work daily in a collaborative problem-solving staffing to address what veterans are coming in, what are their special needs. We have an assessment that's conducted for the veteran to determine it's a risk and needs assessment. We work collaboratively with the VA based on the information that we've received from the veteran, him or herself, working with the VA to get them enrolled not only in our program, but more importantly, enrolled in the VA for services if they're eligible. For those who were discharged under dishonorable conditions, well, they are not eligible for VA services.
Right.
So we work with our community partners, whether it's the Cove, whether it's Riverside Recovery, whether it's Phoenix House. All of our community partners are ready to step up to assist veterans.
If you're just joining me now and connecting with Kim, my guest in the chair is Judge Michael Scionti, who is the presiding judge for the 13th Judicial Circuit for Veterans Treatment Court. And we are right now talking about the veteran has been identified by the state attorney's office as being eligible for the program. Now an assessment is being done to determine what this individual needs for services, etc. So here I am. I step into your courtroom for the first time. I'm the veteran, and I'm in the program now. What happens next?
So I try to learn a little bit about the veteran, him or herself. We talk about their service, the characterization of their service, where they served. I might share a little bit about my experience. Oftentimes, veterans that appear in front of me, while we didn't know each other, we've served with the same unit. So I try to build connections with these veterans, letting them know that I too serve, so they're not just appearing in front of a judge who has no appreciation for not only military service, but for combat service.
Right.
Trying to break down those barriers, as I indicated earlier, starting to build the foundation of trust. We advise, we have VA representatives, Veterans Administration representatives. We refer to them as VJOs, or Veteran Justice Outreach Coordinators. We're very fortunate that the VA has assigned them to our courtroom. We have not one but two, and so we'll immediately connect the veteran to services through the VA immediately in our courtroom. It's real-time information that occurs in our courtroom. So when you came to visit, you would have witnessed those VJOs taking down all the information. For veterans who have just come into the program, there's going to be a lot of information that's presented to them. So we kind of take it slow, don't want to overwhelm. I do set a tone for transformation. So that's the one word that I want them to take away, that this isn't, as we say in the military, just checking a block.
No,
go to training.
It comes through loud and clear in everything that you say.
I want them to know that we care about them, we love them. This is a safe space for them. Trying to break down, again, those traditional barriers. We're not here to punish. We're not here to incarcerate. We're not here to take lives. We are here to save lives. And I want them to focus on transforming themselves into a better person, into a better citizen. I want them to live life with purpose, and we try to work toward that ultimate goal. We benefit from lowering crime rates to lower recidivism rates, and I think we as a community are safer as a result. So, obviously public safety is a focus of our program, lowering recidivism rates. So I kind of set those tones with all of our veterans when they come into the program with probably 100%. They all love being there. They're grateful for the opportunity. They embrace it. There are some veterans who don't want to graduate.
Well, see, this is what I was going to ask you. I'm sitting here thinking, well, now what happens if I've been identified by the state attorney's office and I start getting, and I'm not really on board?
Well, it's their choice. It's a voluntary program. Nobody is forcing a veteran to come into our program. They are initially charged with a criminal offense. I'll just use, for example, the DUI, driving under the influence. They're in misdemeanor court. The attorney, more than likely, the individual's attorney learns of their military service and says, well, they explore whether they're struggling with alcoholism or any other issues, and yes, they are. So they'll apply to the state attorney's office. Now, whether or not there's a strong case and the attorney feels like we can remain in division and litigate this case, that's up to the veteran and his or her attorney. I would welcome all of them to come into VTC because we're here to try to help the problem, not just remedy the crime that brought them before the court, but really the longer-term approach, that transformation. We don't want them to find themselves in this situation again.
Right.
And maybe there were some weaknesses to the case, and they have every right to litigate it. But if they want to take a chance on, finding a better path in life, come visit us in our court. So
you just mentioned, now I was fortunate enough to witness a graduation the Friday that I was in Veterans Treatment Court, and that was very moving. The words you spoke, the words the person graduating spoke, the words that the mentor spoke on behalf of this person, it was really, really moving. So you just alluded to a few minutes ago about not wanting to graduate.
It's a reality. So you asked for veterans who first come into our program, what should they expect? By the second, third, fourth, fifth court date, oh, they get it. They love being in our program. They appreciate the compassion that we bring. They appreciate the tone that the court sets. Again, this rehabilitative approach. We listen. We understand when they struggle, when they relapse, and we're here to pick them up, as a good soldier would do, as a good battle buddy would do.
Never leave anybody behind.
We don't leave. That is our motto. We don't leave any veteran behind. Veterans who leave our program, it's because they want to leave. We don't abandon them. It's my decision as to whether or not somebody advances through a five-phased program. It's my decision as to whether or not they graduate. But we work with veterans. Some of them are there for, as few as 9, 10 months, 12 months. Some have been with us for 3, 4, 5 years. But we're just thankful that we're giving them hope. And that's what the criminal justice system, unfortunately, had not been focused on in many years past. But as I've shared with your audience, I oversee multiple problem-solving courts, all of them focused on mental health issues and substance use disorders. And in all of my years, whether as a law enforcement officer, as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, whether in policy at the state level, the federal level, internationally or domestically, I see mental health issues and how that can be exacerbated by drug use feeds into our criminal justice system. So we're really trying to get a grip on some of those systemic problems that we see, not just in our community, but in communities across the country.
Mental health and substance abuse issues are prevalent throughout all of society. You don't have to be a veteran to be in that particular situation, but I would imagine that if you had some of those issues and then you were in the military and then you were deployed, it could be, all of those conditions could exacerbate the underlying conditions.
So true. As we often say, you don't return from deployment with the same bags that you brought. You leave a little bit of yourself, no matter where you're at, whether it's in combat or not, and you come home with a lot more in your bag than you left with. And I'm no exception. I too. Me and many of the mentors, this month, of course, is Veterans, the month that we recognize Veterans Day and Veterans Service, and it's not lost on us in each of our each of the courts that I oversee, just how pervasive mental health issues and drug addictions are, as you said, to our community, whether it's juvenile mental health I oversee, whether it's adult addiction courts that I oversee. We do see it in our military community much more than in the at-large community. And I think that's why this program is so important to our community and to our veterans, because they have made immeasurable sacrifices, and as a result of that service, they struggle.
Well, and I was fortunate enough to witness when I sat in that day at the court, I witnessed individuals in various phases of the program. Yeah. So it went from starting with the graduation to watching people approach the bench and for discussion, interaction with you that were in various phases of the program.
Yeah, it's set up.
And some of them you had to be firm with.
Well, and I am firm.
You are.
But I'm fair. And they know it. The way the courtroom is set up is very specific, there's an intent behind it. For those of your audience who have not had the pleasure of coming or ever been in a courtroom before, I would invite you to come visit and observe. It's open to the public. It's your court that I oversee. But yes, on one side, there are individuals who are in custody. They've just been arrested, and they're coming to our program. Maybe it's their first time. Out in the audience, it's veterans who are now in the program, out of jail, making their way through the 5-phased program. That's a best practice, of course. And then on the far side of the courtroom are all the ceremonial service flags. That's where we can conduct those graduations. And I try to inspire the individual who's sitting in the jury box, say one day that could be you. I don't judge you by the shackles you wear or the uniform you're wearing. You got to envision yourself graduating from this program. So it starts from the moment they're arrested. and the graduations serve as inspiration for the veterans who, many of whom still struggle. And while I try to provide inspiring words, it's usually the graduates, him or herself, that provide the most motivation. They've walked in their shoes.
Well, and I found that we're almost out of time. I swear it goes so fast especially when you're covering such an important and comprehensive topic like Veterans Treatment Court. But there were two individuals sitting where you were just talking about who just had been arrested, and they got to watch the entire process because they were there the whole time. And I didn't leave till court was over either. And I think there was a little after I left, but not too much. But yeah, I think that should be inspiring to them. So before we wrap it up, is there anything that you would like to share with our audience? That's your camera right there. You can look right in and speak directly.
Well, first, Kim, I want to thank you for inviting me. This has been a delight. It's a pleasure.
You can come back because you do more problem courts.
I would be delighted to. But so important, especially in the month of November, where we as a nation give thanks for the many sacrifices and, of course, the service of our men and women in uniform and their families that support them, because, of course, we couldn't do it without the love and support of family and a community, and you for bringing this topic to the forefront. This program has been around for many, many years, and maybe some in your viewing audience have never heard of the program before. So I thank you. I thank those in our community who have served, who continue to serve, and God bless each of you for showing the courage and the commitment to our nation, a nation that needs you to serve, and a family that's so loving and supportive to welcome those that serve home. So thank you, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, Judge Scionti, for being our guest on Connecting with Kim today. That's all we have time for today. I want to thank my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, who provides my on-air wardrobe from the Spring Boutique located at the corner of Swann and Henderson here in Tampa. And the net proceeds from both the thrift store and the boutique support their mission of providing sanctuary and services and empowerment to survivors of domestic violence and their children, and they've been doing a great job of it since the 70s. So please support their effort. And we'll be back next week with another edition of Connecting with Kim that helps you live your best life in our corner of paradise. So long.